What's up guys, this is Saiyan here coming at you with another deck profile, and today we are sticking with Dragon Ball Super card game, and I have a fringe deck for you guys. I'm pretty sure that there aren't too many fans out there, but regardless, I'm gonna show you a Bojack deck profile. So this guy has come out in set 6, just the previous set. Obviously this is set 7 season now. um, the thing is that he wasn't too good, he was really slow, and with the expansion set cards, the yellow blue additional cards that came out, that Janamba, that Agent of Destruction, Bojack, this deck became a lot more viable, a lot more consistent in my opinion, and a lot more versatile as well, because now we can quite easily utilize blue as a color, and we can just do a lot more shenanigans. Now, this is definitely one of those decks that you need to learn to play, because it's quite technical in a way. It's kind of controlly, and you definitely need to have a good read on the board state and see what avenues you might want to take with this deck, because there are plenty of avenues with this deck. But if we stick with the leader card, Bojack, a lot of people really diss on this card because when he awakens, he doesn't do anything. And to be fair, um, he could definitely do with at least like a draw a card effect that wouldn't kill it. Maybe an untap energy would be too much, but at least drawing one card will really help out this leader. But basically, what he does, you really don't want to awaken in this particular deck. Basically, let's get into this. Basically, every turn, um, once per turn, it's an auto. When you play a Bojack Brigade card, you get to draw a card, and Bojack gets 5k, which is pretty sweet. Guess what? All our cards, all our battle cards are Bojack Brigade in this deck, except two Janambas. So pretty much every turn we're gonna draw one card. But what's also really good about this ability is that it's auto once per turn. And so what that means is if we have the play uh, in our opponent's turn, which of course we do with certain cards, then we get to draw a card during our opponent's turn, and he gets that 5k in our opponent's turn, which can be really useful because we're trying to be quite defensive with this deck until turn 4. Also, when you combo with one of your cards during your turn, if your combo area has 2 or more Bojack Brigade cards that you combo with from a battle area, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So it does have kind of like a pretty complex way to KO battle cards on your opponent's side during your turn if you've comboed with 2 cards from your battlefield, and those were Bojack's Brigade. Now we can do that actually quite easily. Our basic Bojack Brigade cards bring each other out quite easily, so that's really not a problem, and it can be quite useful. When he awakens, he doesn't do anything. You don't get to draw, you don't get to untap energy, which is really bad, and that's one of the things why many people just don't like this leader. When he awakens, the only additional stuff, he keeps both the autos that he's had on his sleeper side, but he also gets a permanent skill where you can combo with Bojack Brigade cards in rest mode in your battle area. So that's pretty cool. Although I have not really gotten to use it during playtesting, just simply because I think I mostly don't even get to the point where I awaken with him and win the game like that. But that's not to say I've tested against a whole bunch of different decks. I did test against one or two. The testing goes on, but so far I have actually been pretty happy with this deck. So that's what the leader does, and we're gonna work with him, see how much we can bring out of this particular ability. Started with the super combo. The super combo, of course, is a specific Bojack's Brigade card, Zangia, Merciful Strike Zangia. You need Sparking 5 to be able to activate Zangia, and you get to draw a card if your leader card is yellow. Now she's a 12k and she's a 3-drop. What's important that she's one of these new school super combos where she has the 10,000, the 10k combo power for free anyway. So even if you don't have the Sparking Fire, you can still get a free 10k boost, which is really good. But ideally, yes, you want to draw a card of her. And the reason why I started with the super combo is because we're gonna go into the basic engine of this deck. You must have, and indeed you do, must have 4 copies. You have to run the whole playset of Space Pirate Beto. He's your search engine. So when you play him, you can look at the top 5, take a Boujack's Brigade card from among them into your hand. So actually your super combo is searchable. His activate main, you can basically sack him, and you must have, including sacking him, you must have 5 Bojack's Brigade cards in your graveyard, and you can shuffle them back in your deck. Happy days. Unfortunately, they have to be under the cost of 2, or well, 2 or less costs, so you can't recycle your super combo. It's one of these fail safes that Bandai put in not to overpower. Another fail safe, I suppose, alongside Bojack's no specials when he awakens type of shenanigans. Another fail safe that they put in is that Beto, you can only have 1 Beto in your play area, in your battle area at any point in time. But that's not really a massive problem. Yes, you do have to pay attention. This is why I said you really need to learn this deck to play properly, because you have to pay attention to things like these. Another guy that we can only have 1 of in the battle area is Fujin. I run 3 of Fujin. I probably wouldn't really run less than 3, but 4 maybe too much. I don't know. I mean, it's all down to preferences, really. You can only have 1 of him in your battle area. And his first thought is when you play this card, choose up to 1 Bojack Brigade card from your hand with an energy cost of 2 or less and play it. So even though both our Beto and our Fujin, and of course our Zengia as well, she's coming up here, they're all really low power battle cards. They only have 3k power. They're not going to be attacking for you. What you play these guys for is to get them all out onto the field and be able to combo them away for Bojack's ability, and then you can KO a rested card on your opponent's side. That's realistically what you want to do with them. That's option 1, but you can also use their activate mains. You can also use their autos for your advantage. Also, when you combo with this card from a battle area, which again, don't forget, Bojack is really good with. If your leader card is a Bojack Brigade card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. Isn't that amazing? So you take your Space Pirate Fujin, combo into Bojack, you take your Beto, combo into Bojack, Fujin is then going to rest somebody, then Bojack is going to KO that rested card. Amazing stuff. These are the kind of interactions you want to be doing in this deck. The next one, as I've alluded to her just a minute ago, Space Pirate Zengia, our last really low power battle card. She has also 3k attack, but another failsafe there is that you can only have 1 of her on your battle area. Her auto is when you play this card, if your leader card is a Bojack's Brigade card, choose up to 1 Bojack's Brigade card with an energy cost of 1 from your deck and play it. So Fujin gets you a 2-drop from your hand if that happens to be Zengia. Zengia comes out, Zengia then gets 1 guy from your deck with a 1 cost, which could be your Beto. And of course, don't forget that your Bojack's auto is going to activate. You're going to draw a card. He's going to gain 5k. If your turn, you decide how your autos are stacked. So in reality, what I would suggest is your draw of Bojack should be the last one to be triggered, because of course what you don't want to happen is if you already draw out the 1 cost that you want with Space Pirate Zengia, for example, from your deck, and then you're stuck, you draw something useless. Whereas we do run quite a few extra cards. You most likely want to get into those extra cards if you can. Her activate main, you can basically put her into drop area, and up to 1 of your Bojack battle cards, this is important, the leader can't get this, a Boujack battle card will gain critical for the duration of the turn. And this is superb. That's one of the reasons why I definitely run the 4 of, because that granting that critical to one of your battle cards can be really, 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 really good. And then finally, we have Space Pirate Goku, just for our basic, of course, Boujack team. Now he's a little bit different than the previous 3 guys. You can have as many Gokuas in your battle area as you want, and he's also 15k. And he's a 2-drop, so again, you can play him from your hand with Fujin. So that's really cool. Gives you more options to go into. Now he's not he is a difficult one, because yes, you can have as many of him onto the battlefield as you want, and he has 15k power, so he's a good attacker. And when you play this card, if your leader card is a Boujack's Brigade, you can basically you can rest one of your opponent's cards, and you can't switch to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's really good. It's not just the end of your turn, it's the end of your opponent's turn. It basically renders one of their battle cards useless for a turn. You want to use some sort of markers, dice or something to mark these things if they obviously stay tabbed after your turn, because that is quite important for your gameplay. And then for activate main, 1 energy, and putting him into the drop, you can from your hand play a Boujack battle card whose energy cost is 3 in your hand and play it. So it has to be 3. It's not 3 or less, it's exactly 3, which will allow us to do some shenanigans, and I suppose that is a good reason to go into what Boujack cards we run. So don't forget that most of these Boujack cards you will be able to bring out with Goku one way or another. The definite backbone of the deck, and I think it's definitely the most valued player, the MVP of this deck, is Boujack Pirate's Pride. He's a 3-drop counter attack, so you can counter it, you can negate an attack, and then you play this card. But during your opponent's turn, if there is a card that is both blue and yellow in your energy, you reduce the cost of this card by 2. So in effect, he's going to be a 1-drop, because we run 6 double-colored cards for energy. And he has this auto: when you play this card, your opponent places the top card of their deck in their drop area. So it mills 1, not super exciting, but it's a 3-drop Boujack that, by the way, during your opponent's turn, you can play for 1 energy. And don't forget, our leader is auto once per turn, so if you counter, you play Boujack, you draw a card, he gets 5k. Amazing stuff. But when he's in play, he will be a 3-drop again. If he's in your hand during your turn, he's a 3-drop, so you can play him with Space Pirate Goku. Then we run 3 Boujack, Agent of Destruction. He's a 3-cost, a 3-drop, which is again very important. You can play him for 1 with your Goku. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and switch it to rest mode. So that's really cool. You get an immediate auto when you play him. And also, the activate main's a bit fringe. For 2 energy, you can basically tap your opponent's leader, and it can't be activated until the end of your opponent's next turn. So basically, if you have 2 energy lying around, you can basically tap your opponent's leader, again just saving you a turn. This can be really good against Shenron leader. If Shenron hasn't awakened yet, you can basically gain an extra turn. And there are ways how you get to kind of draw into it a little bit, but you can get him out sort of turn 2 if you just play around that. If you know that your opponent's playing Shenron. And the reason why we want to have 7 3-drop Boujacks is because we have this big boy, our finisher, Boujack the Plunderer. It's definitely the main reason why you want to run this deck, in my opinion. So he's EX Evolve for 3 specific yellow and 1 any color. And if your life is at 5 or more, you basically tap all your opponent's cards when this card is played. That accounts for energy, field card even, all their battle cards, of course. their leader. And is it battle cards? Choose all of your opponent's cards. No, all of them, including leader. Step everything. And the second ulti is when your opponent switches one of their cards from rest mode to active mode. If your leader card's Boujack, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and sends it to their warp. So if they untap 10 cards, that means they have to send 10 cards from their hand to the warp. And there is no checkpoint between setting cards from rest to active, standing cards from rest to active, and drawing a card. So in effect, they draw a card, and then they basically warp their entire hand if you play this card right. And then once per turn, you can sack a Bojack's Brigade card from your battle area, and he gains dual attack. This combined with Zangia, giving him dual attack and critical, is basically your key finisher piece. You don't always want to stay at 5 life or above. In reality, if your opponent taps out frequently, then there's no point to you try and put resources into sticking at 5 life or above. You just really want to make sure that you get this guy into play. And finally, we have 2 Boujack the Tyrants. This is a 4-drop. It's a double striker. I've recently added this card because I feel that we needed some more cards that can potentially finish the game. And again, double striker with critical can finish you the game quicker. Now, if your opponent has battle cards in rest mode, 2 or more battle cards in rest mode, you reduce the energy cost of his card in your hand by 1, making him a 3-drop. So again, technically you can play him for 1 with the Kokua, and that's what I said, that basically almost all our Bojacks can be played for 1 with Kokua if we create a situation. It's very much down to us. This deck doesn't run itself. It's very technical in a sense that you really need to be mindful of what you can and you should do with your cards. Also, when you play this card from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, and you can't switch to back to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn. Just another card that combos really well with our leader. Obviously, we can bring him down very cheap. Double strike, we can give him critical, taps another card until the end of your opponent's turn. So it just does everything that we want this deck to do in reality. Now, it's not the most important card to run. It's a promo. It might be a bit difficult to find it for some people, but I would highly recommend trying it out because I think it really does help the deck a lot. 2 is probably good. 3 might be a little bit too much. It's quite reliant on certain other factors to come into play for you to be able to play cheap, but I think it's definitely worthwhile, the 2 of. Okay, and finally, to our double color cards. Of course, we run 4 Boujack Resonant Agent of Destruction for energy, and we also run the 2 Janembas. Now, you could potentially change this for the new set 7 Beerus. I still see a good option of having this. In reality, all you want to do is, first turn you want to open up with a double color card in your energy. That's your first turn, that's all you do. If for any reason you don't get any, but you do have the Fujin Kokua in your hand, then you want to start with putting a yellow down, play Fujin, play Kokua out, and then next turn you are basically able to sack Kokua and get pretty much any of your Bojacks down except the big A cost with this activate main ability. So that's another avenue to start the game with, but the best starting point in my opinion is getting one of these 6 cards down in your first turn. Ideally you want to start with Janemba in your energy because your Bojacks, they can be arrivaled for 1 yellow, and when this card comes into play, you basically tap one of your opponent's battle cards, and they also mill a card from the top of their deck. Could be a crucial card. Realistically, you just want to tap something down, and you get a 20k blocker for 1 yellow energy. Now, if you do that during your opponent's turn, which you really want to do, guess what happens? You draw a card during your opponent's turn, and your leader gets 5k. Amazing stuff. So we got 8 cards, 4 counterplays, and 4 arrivals here to get card advantage during our opponent's turn. Certainly Janemba, not as good as our Boujack, in the sense that we can't rival him in, but he has Aegis, and you can untap 2 of your energies if you activate the Aegis ability. He has Barrier, he's also 20k, and has the auto when this card activates Aegis. Your discard, place 1 card from the top of your opponent's deck in their drop area. So just another mill effect, obviously. These cards came out to work both with Janemba and Boujack, boost both strategies. We really just use this Janemba for extra energy, but there are circumstances where the Aegis might become handy. And this isn't anything new anymore. People run the Babidi Overseer of Destruction in this deck. I cut it down to a 3 of because it was too much blue having 4 of him in. Originally I started with 4 of, and we also ran 4 Senzu Beans. I cut these down to 3 to fit those 4 drop Bojacks. I think 3 works fine for now. Obviously Babidi has Barrier, and it basically makes all your Agent of Destruction cards cost 1 less, and they also don't have any specified costs that are in your hand. So that includes all these 4 Bojacks, these 2 Janambas, and the other 3 Agent of Destruction Bojacks as well. So it really helps our deck out if we get to play Babidi Overseer of Destruction again. It's not something that happens all the time. Really depends from your starting hand. I always mulligan for a dual color card if I don't pull it off. Babidi is also a good starting card. It basically allows you to, second turn play your Agent of Destruction for 2 energy with any color. Really does a lot of service for this deck, so it's a very good little addition to this deck. If not, then you have 3 blue cards to help you rival. You obviously got tons of yellow, but this could be a good one to just help you instead of having 2 double color in your hand, 1 to combo with, 1 to rival. If you have Babidi down, or if you have Babidi in your hand, you can drop the 2 5k combos and you can still rival this Boujack. And I love the art on this card as well, I must say. I think it's really cool, really nice. The foiling's really cool as well. The eyes really shine up if you position the card right, and that's the same for Janemba. If you position the foiling right, the eyes just lit up, and just like these little details that are really cool about these cards. So we covered our final battle cards. Let's go and look at our extra cards then. I did say we run 3 Senzu Beans. Again, started out at 4. We're down to 3 now. It's good to be able to give plus 5k in battle, but being able to untap, the energy used and another energy is absolutely brilliant, particularly if you're running multicolor cards. That gives you just a lot more avenues to go into different colors and all that stuff. So Senzu Bean, maybe a 4 of. I've had maybe too many stuck in my hand before, so 3's a good point to be at. You could arguably add maybe just straight up 3 more blue battle cards to help you with your Aegis, but with your arrival. But the thing is, I'd rather just have a straight up good card that allows me to untap and be able to give me extra energy for my other cards to be able to counterplay my Boujack and things like that. Again, this is absolutely a stable, and it used to be a 4 of. Now it's more down to a 3 of arrival of the Space Pirates. Another really good turn 1, turn 2 play. Activate main, choose 1 Boujack Brigade card with an energy cost of 2 or less from your deck, and play it in rest mode in your in your battle area. Ideally, you want to get the Zangyo out, but if you feel that you need your Kokua, then get your Kokua. He's not even on here. This is Beto. You either get your Kokua or you get your Zangyo out. You can get the 1-cost cards out as well, but I think Zangyo is probably the best. You get Zangyo out, then you can get another 1-drop from your deck. If you then get a Fujin out, Fujin allows you to get a Goku out of your hand, so it just allows for a lot of different shenanigans to happen. We run to Crusher Ball, which I mean a lot of players I see absolutely love this card. I am yet to fully utilize its potential. Not to say that it's not good, particularly in this deck where you just want your opponent to have cards in rest mode. Really helps you to stretch that game out, and particularly if they have like a big boss, battle card that comes down and you just crush your ball it, they can't use it. If you're then able to, get your big guy out the next turn, then you're in a good position. So Crusher Ball's a good card. I definitely do like it. We got 2 Time Magic. I maybe would bring this up to 3. Definitely there's a third one in the side deck. The side deck's not fully complete, but I think I do have a couple of cards to show you guys. Basically, Sparking 5, it's a life counter. And also, very importantly, what it does is not only negates an attack, but it also rests a card ignoring barrier. So it just works perfectly, again, with what we're trying to do with this deck. And as a one-off, we have 1 Merciless Farewell. Very expensive in a way that you have to drop 2 cards from your hand. But it allows you to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So your opponent swings at you, they rest the card, you then play your Merciless Farewell, drop 2 more cards in your drop, and whatever they attacked you with, you then KO it. And the funniest thing about that is, because if you are the defender, your activate battle will obviously trigger after your opponent has already comboed into it, and then you say, okay, Merciless Farewell, bye-bye. it's a really good card. It's a one-off. I feel that the one-off is granted in this deck, because it's just like it's almost like a joker. It can get you out from a very sticky situation if you have it in your hands. And that's pretty much it for our main deck profile. Now, side deck wise, because you got both yellow and blue as a color, obviously there are many options available to you. You could argue you could play your 4th copy of your Senzu Bean. You could potentially run your 4th copy of your Arrival of Space Pirates. You can definitely, I think you should definitely run more Time Magic. I can't find my side deck, so I apologize for that. I will not be able to show that to you guys now. When I find it, and I certainly have one written down, I'll probably put it in the comment section below. But yes, as I said, if you're looking to play a very technical, very involved deck that you really, every time you win with it, you feel like you've earned that win rather than just the deck running itself, then I would highly recommend this deck to you guys. It is a lot of fun to play. It has very much a controlling aspect. What you want to do is keep your opponent's battle cards tapped as much as you can. If you can remove them with your leader, even better. But you can draw a card in your turn, draw a card in your opponent's turn. Just make sure you keep your energies open. You utilize your Senzu Beans. In reality, you don't actually do a hell of a lot during your turn. You tend to do quite a lot during your opponent's turn as well, because you got, you got 6 counter attacks, you got 2 Crusher Balls. There's the Merciless Farewell. So there's a lot of things you can. There's the arrival mechanic, of course, that you definitely want to pull off during your opponent's turn. So just a lot of really good stuff to get you to your final boss card, the big Boujack, and then just win from there. It's not going to be, your opponent either scoops, or it's going to still be a couple of turns of grinding, and that's why you got the double striker to be able to pull out and just win from there, because they basically are not going to really have any more cards left, so they can't really combo out from situations anymore. Every time they decide to swing or pay a card, they have to take into account that they draw 1, maybe 2, at maximum 3 cards a turn with some shenanigans, and if their leader has awakened, if their leader can attack, of course, then if they play a card for 2, 3, that's it. So they either kind of just take into account that they can only play, they may take a turn off and not tap any cards, be able to draw a card or 2, then maybe have a turn. But again, the next turn they won't have anything to do. So yeah, it's a bit, tricky to get out of that lock once the big Boujack guy comes down. But you definitely need to survive until that point. Once he's down, you still have to be, quite on the verge, particularly if your opponent has a big board state. That's going to be difficult. So you kind of want to sweep the board a little bit if you can before you play your big guy, and then just go from there. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Until next time, Saiyan signing out. Peace out, YouTube.